Getting 1,000 players and simulating a civilization in Minecraft is the most popular thing in Minecraft right now. We get to see how players team up and build, form rivalries, and even get into full-on wars. And if you die, you're completely eliminated from the challenge. But nobody could have known that these experiments were about to be changed forever. When a YouTuber by the name Ish uploaded this video on July 11th, 2025. Ish actually thought this would be a flop, but it quickly turned into the most beloved Minecraft civilization experiment of all time. Hundreds of YouTubers reacted to this entire thing. And the most incredible thing is, this is only his 5th civilization experiment, with each one getting so much better each time. And just 4 years ago, almost nobody knew who he was. He had to make this video trying to get people to join his first Minecraft experiment. And eventually he got 200 players together to build a massive civilization in Minecraft.
Well, I think food will be very important, so I'm trying to upscale my farming.
Yes.
Within days, they formed dictatorships, carried out secret assassinations, and a desert empire formed that looked to take over this entire world. And eventually, a full-on war at some awesome locations. So it was pretty epic, and for Ish's first experiment, you could already see the potential and his own unique style emerging. But compared to his later experiments and other YouTubers at the time, there was still a lot of improvement that could be made. And that's exactly what we saw in his second civilization experiment, which released just 2 months later. And he did a lot of new things that really spiced this one up. Like the start of this video starts off like this.
Attention passengers, brace for death.
A plane crash is a crazy way to start this. But you also see some familiar faces from the last world, which in my opinion is one of the coolest and most underappreciated aspects of this series. You get to see these people grow as humans over time, or just become straight up evil. It's awesome. My other favorite part of this experiment is how Ish introduced environmental challenges.
Lightning struck the tower and the curious people came to investigate. This marked the first server event. Let's see how the people react when they all get the extreme hunger effect, which quickly diminishes the player's hunger bar. If the player doesn't find food in time, they die.
Great hunger begins? Oh my god.
I just really liked how these events caused these players to react and have to work together a lot of the time. And we also saw some long-term storylines like Wood Daddy helping a guy named
Thanos Chicken, who was on the verge of starving. Wood Daddy not only saved his life, but allowed him to stay in his home after realizing that Thanos Chicken also had his own cat. And now both of their cats have a cat. I hope this doesn't escalate even further.
And I recognized Wood Daddy from the first one, but I just laughed at the name Thanos Chicken when I saw this, because come on, that is hilarious. But we get to see them progress together through this experiment and even help each other at the very end, which we'll get to in a second because I actually spotted some interesting Easter eggs like Saparata dying on this sign. And trust me, this is a huge player when it comes to Ish's latest experiment, but I just see him dead in this one. Like he didn't even get shown on screen, bro. And we saw a bunch more stuff that I can't really cover that quickly, but I'll try. The guy from the first experiment who achieved world domination, yeah, he was back and kind of planned to do the same thing again. We saw other familiar faces forming a democracy, stopping assassination attempts, not stopping assassination attempts.
They heard a noise in the ground.
And a whole lot more. But the final challenge of this one was a secret passageway opened up, and everyone had to race to escape. And there was one final twist.
Also informed that the passage would only accept players who have killed another player. Oh, here we go, Dapper. Now in a fight, who is gonna win?
And that's when we finally see this long storyline between these two finally come to a close. And man, was it cinema. And the experiments only got better because Ish for the first time got 1,000 players together. But the more interesting part to me was this was a prison simulation where 100 of the players became guards. The rest were prisoners, with one warden whose job was to oversee the prison, ensure order, and not let the prisoners take over or escape.
Oh boy. Our first prison escape, here we go, yeah!
So we actually had a concrete goal to sort of root for, which I found really interesting, because obviously I was fearing that the prisoners were just gonna take over the guards.
Oh my god!
I'm getting the hell out of here.
And kill the warden because the warden was a player named Jaws Unleashed, and he was so nice, like too nice, to the point he kind of just let prisoners get away with too much.
While it may be hard to see, there is good in this prison.
I've sold 10 wooden swords to 10 schmucks, and I've currently my business is prospering in the bathroom.
They all just start. I see him there. Oh my god, they got him! They found another guard. He's dead. Second guard down.
And in the end, he ended up paying for it.
This prisoner here is a prime example that rehabilitation does work. There is hope.
This is when a massive change happened in this experiment because the familiar face Solev took charge.
All prisoners report to your cells immediately.
And he had a dirty secret. He had been operating an underground prisoner fight club. Brother, what happened to this dude? He was like all about peace and stuff the last experiment. But yeah, the dynamic completely changed and you start to think like, okay, maybe I'm starting to root for the prisoners now. And again, that's when we see more environmental circumstances occur. Like the prison ended up losing its trust score. So basically Ish just decided to open the front gates of the prison.
What?
Oh boy, they're running. They come! Oh my gosh! There were currently about 20 prisoners who had already escaped, and these now fugitives were all planning to meet up in this undisclosed location in the jungle and maybe go back to the prison to break more people out.
And the prison experiment ended with even more crazy twists, with the guards versus prisoner storyline ending in such an amazing way. But that already brings us to the second to last experiment, and this is actually the highest viewed video of the series. This was the first time Ish got together 1,000 players to build a massive civilization. And again, we saw a ton of familiar faces. They got placed into 4 separate biomes, and this is when we really saw for the first time how these different factions dealt with drastically different environments. For instance, the first like 10 people to die in this experiment all came from the snow biome.
This guy's trying to free his friends. Oh no. Even worse for the poor people on the snow island, trees were almost nowhere to be seen.
And Storming Hell was back with an army of 100 players.
The rules, as established by the Sultan, included wear proper attire, do not eat pork, complete your mandatory work, and most importantly, acknowledge the Sultan as the supreme and divinely chosen leader.
And they were going to absolutely cause chaos on the server again. But they weren't the only powerful force. The Plains biome saw massive success, massive luxury, a robust civilization, and surprisingly, the people of the snow biome, after initially dying, managed to form together, build upon each other with amazing teamwork, and all negotiate to come together as one nation. Since they were so poorly off, this pushed them in the direction of teamwork to come out on top. And we started to see a bunch of really funny, elaborate storyline plots throughout, like Los Pollos Hermanos, the twins from Breaking Bad as well. Yeah, these moments are awesome. They really are a good addition to the series. And while this experiment wraps up in a very fascinating way as we see all the 4 nations struggle over power, try to deploy more secret assassinations, and ultimately all go to war to see who comes out on top. And Ish learned a lot from this experience and then worked on his next video for over 2 years. 2 years! And then one day, dropped this masterpiece. So he got 1,000 players again for this, and it was pretty similar to the last one which he just did, but here's where the genius really lies. He split up half of the people onto a rich island with a ton of resources, food and water, and the other half, a poor island.
You're kidding me.
So we talked about how the changing environments really spices things up, and this time it was really simple. 2 directly opposing islands with completely opposite circumstances. So we got to watch as the different advantages played out, and also different issues arised.
What about the goal of world peace?
I respect our leader's goal, but
he's dead wrong.
I actually talked about this in more detail before in my first video ever, but to quickly summarize, the rich island was really well off and they were planning on building a bridge and being friendly with the poor island, when a player by the name of Fluxion thought that that was naive and silly. He orchestrated a plan to assassinate the leader of the nation.
Jofield, the leader of one of Island 2's largest civilizations, was walking across Tricolor with her second in command, Seraphim.
And assassinate even more leaders in the following days. He also released the Warden as an environmental challenge, and the players had to work together unless they wanted to be eliminated. There were some of the most epic escape scenes I have ever seen, and Flux and Saps, our two main players in this experiment, settled their beef with a duel. This doesn't even scratch the surface of how amazing this experiment was. And I also wanted to say thank you for the support on my last video because it was actually mind-blowing. I had 0 subscribers, now I'm over 2,000 at the point of me making this, and I was reading all of the comments and you guys are just way too nice. So yeah, I really cannot wait for Ish's next civilization experiment. Hopefully it comes out in 2026. But if you're wanting to see more of these experiments, you can check out that video I mentioned earlier, or of course you can just go binge watch Ish's whole series.